might want to do something like this before, maybe because of my friend, my uncle, my brother. I know that, oh, this thing is much more than what it seems on the outside. So if I don't fit into this, I might fit into something else. And I think it's actually very beautiful. So thanks, Skillup.
Right, thank you very much for sharing. That is very beautiful. Thank you, Oluwakolumi. Thanks for sharing. So next up, who else should I call? Mini. Oh, Esther. Let's have you, Esther. Esther, kindly unmute and share with us what you learned, maybe during the course of the live sessions or from the learning portal.
Oh, hi, good evening. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Sorry. One thing I learned, so out of many, is that you should know the particular niche in tech that you want to venture in. And it's not just going to be about what you feel like or what you feel like is for you, but it has to be something you're passionate about or something that you keep up with learning and see that you're able. I can remember that Mr. Adegoke will always say that money should not be your motivation, right? Everybody wants money. Tech is the new oil, there's money, but that should not only be your motivation. I would say one thing I've always seen about tech is that the ability to give out value and prepare solutions. So that's one thing I know. And it will take consistency, it will take showing up when you don't feel like and when you feel like. And you can even build a structure around it. The introduction to tech course was so insightful and knowledge initiation, and it's like a very good start to tech entirely. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, Skillup Africa.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Esther. It's so nice to hear that you have learned at least a lot from the session, from the courses on the portal. So next up, we are going to be having Emmanuel Ogunjimi. Please kindly unmute and share with us what you've learned on the learning portal, or probably in one of the Emmanuel, we are waiting for you, please. Share with us what you during the course of the week. This is the last day of the first week of the onboarding session. So please share with us what you learned this week, probably from the learning portal or from the live sessions. Apologies about that. So sorry. So Emmanuel, we are still waiting for you, please. Is Emmanuel on this call? Emmanuel, are you on this call? Okay, looks like
his hand. I don't know if you can see.
Okay. So it looks like Emmanuel Kujimi is trying to be stingy with his knowledge. No problem. Olagunji Emmanuel, let's have you, please.
Yeah, I've learned that the tech world is vast and ever evolving. It's also incredibly inclusive. That also that technology doesn't discriminate. That maybe because I didn't have a background in computer science or stuff like that. So it offers opportunity to everyone willing to explore it. During this course, I've also embraced the fundamental concepts, realizing that the power of adaptability, and I've discovered the collaboration is key. And I have to put everything into it if I want to learn and be good in my niche. And also that I should not be the money should not be the motivation at all times, as Mr. Tintope have said. I look forward to sharing the knowledge and continuing my. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for sharing, Emmanuel. That's beautiful. Yes, definitely, money should not be a motivator, because whether you like it or not, if you are good, the money will come. So that's not even like up for debate. Definitely, money will come. Also, I think Aziz Temitayo is raising his hand. Let's have you, please.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Temitayo for the breaking down of all the courses. Then one thing that I just want to point out to is the introduction to technology helped me to niche down on which aspect of tech that I'm going to go into, because before it was a broader knowledge before, but with the introduction to tech, I was able to niche down to what I actually want to do and what I have passion for. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that. It's good to know that at least now you know what each tech course is all about. So at least you'll be able to make a better choice rather than just deciding without the proper knowledge to make that choice. Who else? Do we have any other hands up? Okay, let me call at random again. Who else? Sophia. Oops, I should just leave the call. Okay, let me call someone else. Okay, let's have Amelia Stella. Let's have it, please. Good morning.
Can everybody hear me?
Good morning.
Okay, perfect. So from my side, sure, I really enjoyed the courses. They're very informative. I like the way the facilitator broke down each and every field, especially the security one, because I could relate with how hackers just come in and want to mess up with your system. And sure, you know what, there's a lot, and I'm very excited that I got to get a broader IT, a holistic view of what IT is all about, or what tech is all about. So a bit of background about myself. I have a postgrad in project management, and I've got a national diploma as well in computer engineering. And I got into IT because of a bursary that I got via a company. But then I feel like I missed the foundational courses, and I found myself in a field that I really didn't like and worked there for quite a number of years. But going back to this knowledge has really broadened my mind. And now I know exactly that IT can accommodate every type of a person. I think, like the facilitator said, that sometimes when you think of tech, you just think of coding and you become negative towards it. So the way he broke it, I was able to see that it actually accommodates every person. You just need to be informed in terms of what each aspect within tech entails, so that you can make a wiser choice. So I'm currently in my life, let me just cut everything short to allow others to speak. I'm currently going through a career re-engineering season. So I think this has come in very handy for me in terms of the next steps that I want to take in my journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. That's beautiful. It's really, really, all these feedbacks are really the reason why we keep doing what we do. And it's lovely to hear that from you. And also, I think I also get like that feeling when people say tech. Before I actually joined the space, when I hear people say tech, I was thinking it's always about technical stuff and there is like you just have to code. But with the course, you get to learn that there are several aspects of tech that doesn't even require you to learn it, to write a single line of code. Product management, for example, you don't even need to know any technical knowledge at all. Like you don't have to learn how to code or anything. And it's also beautiful to get inside tech and actually realize that, okay, there are several opportunities in this space. There are several opportunities in this space. And it's not just one direction. You can decide to go anywhere you want. You can go for product management, you can go for design. So it's also beautiful to know. So moving on, let's have about 2 more or 3 more people before we go right into having our guests. Let's have Kike Lomo Bamishebi. Yes, Kike Lomo, please, let's have you.
Hello everyone, good morning.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I've been having, I actually had a nice time, taking the course, and throughout this week has really been educative. I mean, with the meetings and classes that we've had, I've been insightful, and the team interactions that we had, it was really lovely to have that from Skillup Africa. And the part of the course where I liked was, I liked every part of it. I even dropped a 5-star rating and a comment on there. But the part where I really liked was when he told us how to actually take our time to take the course, which is by, having a role model and not just, staying confused. It was really beautiful. It was really beautiful. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the introductory course. So having a role model and staying consistent would help us win in tech. And that's like what I'm going with throughout the course. And I'm definitely going to enjoy it. Yeah, so I enrolled as data analytics. And I'm sure that I'm in for a very lovely ride. Thank you.
Beautiful. Definitely, you are in for a very enjoyable ride. You are definitely going to enjoy this. I can assure you that. So moving on, you are going to be having one more person. Orolua, let's have you, please. Let's have Orolua.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah. Through the course of the live sessions and the course that I got to take, one major thing that stood out for me is consistency. The fact that even when it looks like it's getting difficult, to stick at it, stay with it, and stay consistent, really. So that was a major highlight for me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. So I want to believe all of us have like access to the courses already. So there are 5 modules there. Can you drop how many modules you have done? Like you have gone through. How many modules have you fully gone through? You have done 5. Let me see 5/5 in the chat session. You are still your first module. I don't know. I think you are so behind, but at least still drop it. Beautiful. 5/5. Okay. Adeyemi has done 5. Beautiful. Elijah has done 5. Alexander has done. Beautiful. Wow. So everybody's up to date. That's amazing. That's really, really good to know. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we already have our guest speakers in the house. Let us give it up for them. If you're excited about this session, let me see the clap emojis in the chat. We already have our guest speakers here, and I'll be bringing up Mr. Tayo to do the honors of introducing them to us, because, I mean, it's only him that can introduce the big fishes. So please, let's keep the claps coming while I hand over to Mr. Temitayo Adegoke. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Oyin. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to us all. I said that because I'm aware that some of us are in different time zones. How are you doing today? Welcome to another edition. You know, because we are just starting, we didn't want to start bombarding you guys, so we allowed you yesterday to relax. I hope you were able to cover up yesterday. I also noticed that a lot of people are just joining us newly. I noticed that there are a number of people who are just getting into the course. Just when you join newly, just the patient register normally, then go on the portal, create an account, then you can drop a message on the group for you to be added to the course, right? You will get a free access to the course. So just be patient about it. When I woke up this morning, I saw some people dropping message 2 a.m., 3 a.m., requesting for somebody to add them to the course. I understand and I really love the energy, but sometimes please be patient. I'm sure you won't expect our guys to be working 24/7, right? So sometimes just be a bit patient with them. But I'm really very excited with the energy we have seen. I'm really very excited with the enthusiasm a lot of us have shown. This gives us confidence that the time, the energy, the resources we are putting into this is not going to a waste. And one thing I also want you to begin to prepare your mind for is that everything you enjoy in this program, make it a duty to pay it forward also. Everything you get into on this program, make it a duty. Know that it's now your responsibility to replicate it with other people as you go on. And that is the way we can reach everybody, right? So not to take more of your time, welcome on board. So usually at Skillup Africa, every Saturday, we always have our soft skill session. And in our soft skill session, we always have our mentors, industry experts who would come, they share their life experiences, they share their work experiences, they answer your questions. These are the people you call bosses, yeah? When you get to the job, these are the people that your bosses will even report to, right? So we bring you, in fact, as a matter of fact, the last call we had, we brought some CEOs who eventually employed some of the students that were in the program. Do you understand? So we give you that ground to ask them questions, to talk to them. And many of them that have 20 years or more experience, they share these experiences with you. We consider these way more valuable than the tech skill that you learn. Remember that when we started this course, I told you that you are not in for a tech training. You are in for a life-changing program. So you need to calm down. Oh, I know you want to learn graphics, you want to learn data, I know. But more important are these things that we are teaching you. Learn them, then you can move on to specialize in those things. That I also want to believe that there are some of us that what you had in mind before you came is different from what you are thinking of doing now, based on the knowledge that you have. And for many of us too, when they mention tech, you now have a better understanding of what tech is. You can now tell somebody and say, no, there are different aspects in tech, this, from what you've learned in the course. So I want to believe that education has helped you largely. And I want you to just, continue to pass on that education. Fine. So our first guest for today is a very good friend, brother, and mentor. is one of the people who have been supporting the Skillup Africa dream since we started in 2020, and he has stayed consistent till this very moment. I will just read a bit of his bio. Although this bio is even is fun to read, it's not. There are a lot more things that I didn't put in the bio that should be there, but I will just read it. In the person of Oluwakorede Asuni, I will just read. Sorry, I have very bad eyesight, so just manage me like that. Olu, as is fondly called by friends and colleagues, work at the intersect of technology and business. He has for many years assisted large corporations, small businesses, public sector organizations, and not-profit craft excellent technology adoption strategies. He's the business analyst lead for MTN mobile money business in South Africa, where he leads and supports executive and key decision makers in evolving strategies and tactics for expanding and growing the business. Olu sits on the non-executive board of the International Institute of Business Analysts in South Africa. He teaches personal development, self-leadership, strategic marketing, product management, and business analysis in his free time. His research interests span topics in the subjects he teaches and includes the stakeholder theory of business, new business models for businesses in challenging markets, ethics of information systems, and gamification. Please join me in welcoming our first guest for today, or let me say our first speaker, because he's really not a guest. You can clap, you can use thumbs up, just use different emojis that you like to welcome him on the call. Welcome, boss. How are you doing today? It's so nice to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
It seems like your volume is quite low.
Let's see what I can do about that.
Okay, we can hear you better now.
So
we can hear you better.
Voice. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you better.
Let's give me a second. Let me see what microphone I'm using.
How are you doing today, sir? So nice to see you again.
I am very well. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
So guys, please welcome our speaker in the chat. Just drop different words of welcome, to welcome him to today's edition. Okay, so before I leave the ground open for you to begin to talk, I just want us to interact a bit so I can kind of set the direction. So basically, here we have a mix of people who are in for the 6 months Insights Bootcamp. We have some that are in for the 3 months online bootcamp. So meaning that we have a mix. So it's not like the work we used to have before. Now we have a mix of people who are fully dedicated in 6 months to learn. And we also have some people who are still doing their jobs and are just trying to get into tech. And what we've tried to do this time is to first create an introduction to tech course, which is where we first introduce them to the basic skills and potential that is in tech before they now narrow down into the individual areas that they want to go to in tech. But I want to ask you a bit about your own journey. So what did you study and when or how did you decide to get into tech? Did you study what you are doing now and you're like, oh, I just continue that way? Or how did it happen? How did you get here?
Thank you. My journey is an interesting one. And I think it would have been an easier one today, or it might have turned out a little different if that journey was going to happen today, for a number of reasons. Today, everybody have smartphones in their pockets. You won't believe it. 17 years ago, We also had phones that we call smartphones, but they were not nearly as powerful as what you have today. And they were not nearly as feature rich as what you have today. In my days, we also had the internet, but it worked a bit differently. The internet hasn't changed much, but how we access the internet has changed. I've got a 12-year-old daughter who has internet in her bedroom today. She's 12. Yeah, I was in my mid-20s, early to mid-20s. When my career journey started, and the easiest and the most and the cheapest way to access the internet was what we called in my days overnight browsing. I don't know if there's anybody in this room who can relate to that.
On my go-to too.
Yes. So you find that, so we had these little shops around in most cities. We used to call them cyber cafes. There are all kinds of stories on how they got that name, cyber cafe, blah, blah, blah. Some people argue that they started live. Somebody said, I can't, or cyber cafes, yes. So now cyber cafes will charge you a certain rate during the day, and then it will charge you almost next to nothing at night. So what we would do then is to save up to go spend the night in cyber cafes. And I started to do this quite early. But today it's a lot different. In my days as well, you need to go through multiple layers to get access to information. Today, there are initiatives like Skillup Africa that offer online and on-site training or trainings on subjects that are topical. And there are a myriad of such platforms out there. I saw the beginning of things like something called the EDX, which was a partnership between some well-known universities to offer the same courses they offer their students free online. And I've seen the model over the years be tweaked. So initially they wouldn't offer certificates, then they later started to offer certificates that are tenable to employers as proof of evidence that you've gone through their courses. Before, they will be free. Now you would have the option to go take a free class or a paid class, and so on and so forth. So I studied physics. I read physics in university. I minored in computer science and in electronics. So I think my degree is applied physics. We never know what it's called these days. It's been 17 years since I left the university, so pardon me. The university degree did something. So when I started, I wanted to, and I think I sustained this idea throughout my 4-year undergraduate years. It wasn't literally 4 years. I mean, you all know about that animal called ASU. ASU reared its head a few times in the course of my study. So I got into university in 2001. I left in 2006, and I had studied a 4-year course. If you do your maths, that's 6 years actually spent in university. So, but that's by the way. So I got into physics, hoping that I can contribute to solving the power challenge that Nigeria had. Unfortunately, we didn't solve that problem. I was quite interested in computational systems. I was quite interested in how we can build automations and so on and so forth. And my final year dissertation still looked at renewable energy. I built a generator that converts human energy into electricity. At an appropriate day and time, I would explain it to you. It's nothing. If you've ridden a bicycle in the gym before, and those bicycles that they've got a display, but the displays are dead until you start riding them, then you have experienced what I built. I didn't invent that line of work. I just built. I saw those things existed. I looked at how they worked, and I looked at my environment, and I adapted it to fit my environment. And throughout my career, I've always had to adapt myself to the things that are changing in the environment, to adapt the businesses I support to the market, and so on and so forth. And then I wrote a book in the university, and that book needed a website, not just a website that says, this is this book, this is what it says, buy it. No, it needed a community to be built around it. And I couldn't find anybody to build it, either because those of my classmates who had the skills to help build it wanted money that I can't pay, or their skills does not stretch as far as we needed. And that's how I got into web design and web development. And that gave me an opportunity to also explore desktop application development and enterprise softwares. So I got into tech via the long routes. I became a developer, maybe not a world-class developer, but I became a developer. And I realized that I was a discipline called project management. And the project managers were the ones that wore the fancier clothes. They dressed better than us developers. We just wear t-shirts and jeans and what have you. And I'm on the call, okay. And but more importantly, they seem to be the most important people in the room. They understood what we wanted to do from end to end. They use big terms. They have ratios they are tracking. They are looking at the internal rate of return for this initiative and so on and so forth. They are the ones that speak to the executives and all of that. So I got interested, and everything I'm telling you here, I'm going to tie it all up together. And then it's going to be the crux of our conversation. I got interested and I did the necessary things. I went back to school to study project management. I didn't go to university. I was fortunate to be aware that, what's it called? That there is an institution that is globally respected, like an authority, and that moderates the practice of project management. They are called the Project Management Institute, PMI. They are based out of the US, but they are global. I'm sure everybody in this room would have heard about them at least once. I enrolled with them, took an extra class, deferred writing the certification. I had questions that kept on going in my head when I get the certification, which is so expensive to get at that time. What do I do? What would I do with it? How do I cross from being a roughneck techie to one that does project management and all that? But be it as it may, I found application for my new sets of skills. I found that the people that I was scared of in the business, the hierarchy that is just meant to be respected, but that I respected and also feared, was just meant to be respected. And people are open to hearing what value you are able to bring in. A short story, I eventually got hired by an international nonprofit based out of South Africa. That's how I left Nigeria. They paid my way, paid my rent for a few months and all of those kind of things, helped me settle. And that's how I made my move. I know that people are making moves these days that are a bit more tricky and that are a bit more stressful. I was lucky. And whilst on the job, I still had those questions. I hadn't done my certification then, but I pulled the plug, did the certification, came back to work, told them I have this certification, and I think we can improve our work in multiple other ways. And before doing that, I had also built credibility with them. My line managers trusted me. I'd done things that were magical. I'd decentralized the collaboration platform in the organization so that anybody can collaborate. I modernized it, removed it from some old technology to Microsoft SharePoint. At the time, it was new, relatively new. I was also fortunate to be, if not the first, one of the first few people to do a cloud implementation of Microsoft 365. I think it used to be called Microsoft 360 then, and then changed the name, and now they've changed the name again to Office 365. But I was one of the first few people in South Africa, possibly in Africa, to do a cloud implementation. When Microsoft first released that software, it was only available for on-site implementation. I brought my skills to bear. I got allowed, because on the basis of the credibility I've established, to work in areas that I normally wouldn't work in. And that led me to a career in consulting. I joined Deloitte South Africa, and I had about 3 years of fun with the consultants and all that, and that we pass around about consultants and all of that. And I went back to the industry this time around, I joined a global, not really a global, an African-wide multinational in the telecoms industry. You might have seen them around. They're the biggest network in Nigeria. Second biggest in South Africa, but the distance between ourselves and the biggest network in South Africa is not that much. And I did a lot of work there as well. And at some point in that story I'm telling you, I realized that whilst project management is super important, it could become fluffy, and project managers might not be able to add as much value as the opportunity offers them because they are not close enough to the subject matter. I didn't have that problem because don't forget that I came from development. We are the foot soldiers. We are the ones. We are the last. What's it called? We are the foot soldiers. We are the last guard. We are the ones that stand between the organization and the solution they want to build. You know, so I was interested in being able to be a better project manager, and I discovered the field of business analysis. Today, everybody who knows me will think I went straight from college to doing business analysis, but that's not it. And the love for business analysis came from just being able to do scope management properly. And business analysis ended up being a rabbit hole of its own. And it had, for the last 7 years, officially, and about the last 10 years, unofficially, it had become my sort of primary constituency. And I've done quite a lot with it. At the very entry level of business analysis, all you do is clarify requirements, write requirement specifications, listen to what business wants to do, and put it in a way that developers and engineers would understand. And once it's built, you test and make sure that what has been built has met specifications, and you move on to the next project. That's fundamental. That is the very basis. But the older and the more experienced you become, you start to find additional uses of those same skills that help you write requirement specification. And one of the areas I've found application is in advising senior management. With the hope of becoming senior management myself one day, but in advising senior management, I have an extremely robust understanding of the market. I know our customers like they are my neighbors. I know what they need, and I ensure that our business, or I guide our business to spend money and energy only in the areas where we are likely to increase customer satisfaction, you know. And the other metrics that we'll also try to nurse, like reduce our customer acquisition cost. And that's how much we spend to acquire every new customer. And also to look at ways we can prolong the lifetime of the customer with us. How long does the customer stay with us, buying the products and services we're offering them, and all of that. So yeah, so look, I had gone from being a graduate of physics from the Olabisi Onabanjo University in Nigeria to advising people who run a 30 billion rands business on a daily basis. The journey was driven by myself. It's another key point I'd like to leave you with. I remember speaking to HR at an old job, and they were asking me for my plan for the following year. And maybe out of a little bit of arrogance, I don't know, but I showed them my 5-year plan. HR then said, off the records, I've not met a young person like you who has their life planned out as well as you have. Now, something about plans. Not all plans, you know, the pop philosopher Mike Tyson always says that everybody has a plan until they are punched in the face, and that's good. Plans have one clear advantage. When you have a plan, if you have what you want to do with your life, with your career, it informs the places you go, the people you roll with, the kind of courses you take, the kind of books you buy and read, how you spend your time, and all of that. And as you grow in knowledge, you might find that you need to tweak that plan. So it's like leaving Lagos for Ibadan. You know the direction. The two people leaving Lagos for Ibadan. Somebody just gets behind the wheels of their car start driving. They might end up in Ibadan after 3 or 4 days, or never end up in Ibadan. But the guy who has a general idea of the directions to Ibadan, who knows people who know their way to Ibadan, might be calling to say, hey, okay, I'm now at Ojota. Do I make a right turn or a left turn? And then they get guided. So those people that is calling are mentors or people who have walked the way before. And I always advocate for young people as well that you need to have accountability partners, you need to have mentors, you need to have people that you talk to. You know, the way you have pastors that you go to when you need prayers, you're applying for a visa and I know it's a bad joke, and you need somebody to pray for you for 7 days and fast for you for 7 days because you are too lazy to pray for yourself. That same way, you need to have people that you go to say, hey, this new technology that is out here, what do you think about it? You know, I don't know if I should spend time, if I should invest in gathering knowledge around it and developing some skills around it, or whether I should totally ignore it. And trust me, you know, in my career, in the short 17 years that I've been working professionally post-graduation, there has been many chat GPTs. You know, people make noise about them as they do now, and everybody forgets them. But there'll be 1 or 2 people whose life will be changed totally as a result of the same news we all heard about chat GPT, the same uproar, the same cries of it's going to steal our jobs. They pick up 1 or 2 things, and that changes their lives forever. So I always also advocate that it's important that you sift through the noise for the information and see how you can leverage that information. I'd like to stop here because I see that my guy has put on his camera. That's a nice way of saying, hey, Ebo. Do you mind pausing here? So I'll respect myself and pause.
Thank you very much. That has been very, very insightful. Thank you very much. You've shared a lot in the space of that time. I just want to add a follow-up question. So if you look at your journey, where you started from and where you are today, what things do you think are responsible? Do you think it is luck? Do you think it is chance? Do you think you are extremely exceptional? Maybe you are just gifted that way. Or do you think your dedication, your commitment, what things do you think are responsible? Or maybe when you are young and somebody have done or you have prayed and said, you this boy, just go and maybe that's what is responsible. What do you think is responsible? And to just add to that, for an average youth who does not have connection, who is practically broke where he is now, and probably listening to you, and he's wondering, and he's saying, this man have all these things, and I ask people and all, that's why he can do it. I don't see myself in that space. What do you have to such a person? What do you have to share with such a person?
So maybe I should tell everybody here where I grew up. I grew up in Ujolegba in Lagos. If you know it, if you know Ujolegba in Lagos, I want you to do something. Just show some sign of life. Raise your hand or something. I grew up in Ujolegba in Lagos. And the question I want to pose to you is, how better is Ujolegba in Lagos to your circumstances today? You know? So I started from the bottom, guys. I can tell you that for free. Yeah, we know your story. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, we all thanks to Wizkid for doing that for us. Yes, so that's yes. Look, Amalashita and all that are the things that I grew up on. In fact, Amalashita is even luxury meal compared to the kind of street food I was exposed to. So, and I have friends. One of my very good friends, also here in South Africa, who has also enjoyed incredible career growth. He took his wife on a trip to Ibadan a few years ago. Took his wife to the primary school he went to, you know, and the wife said it was just laughing at him. It's an inside joke between us now. I don't want to say too much. I don't know if he's going to see this video. I don't have permission to share that story. So the most important thing about where you are now is to set that location as your starting point. It doesn't affect where you are going. It doesn't affect where you are going at all. When I was in the university, I took account of where I was. I was in a state university. At the time, I don't know if it's still the practice. At the time, there was a preference and unnecessary preference for students who have graduated from federal universities. You know, never mind, when I was studying physics, my department was ranked by the NUC or whatever was ranking, whoever was responsible for ranking university departments as the best in the country. So I studied in the Department of Physics that was relatively better than the Department of Physics in all other Nigerian universities at the time. But that gave me no advantage. Absolutely no advantage. Now, number two is that I had the unfortunate, so, you know, except we want to fool ourselves, by the end of your second year, you know the likelihood of, you know what your final grade is likely to be. And there's a simple way to do that calculation if you don't know how to do it. Look at your GPA at the end of your second year, and then ask yourself, if I score distinctions in all the remaining 8 times 4, 24 courses I have left in this program, what is the likelihood that I'll make a first class? When I did that calculation, I do that calculation at the end of every year. When I did that calculation, I realized that if I made a second class lower, it would be out of a lot of effort. And there's a story behind that. I played throughout my first year in university and all that. A cautionary tale, not for today. So, and yes, at that time I was also quite religious. I was a lot more religious than I'm willing to admit, and I was a lot more religious at that time than I am today. And it's not my career story that changed my mind about religion. It is just growth and knowledge and understanding what things truly mean or stand for. But that's another story for another day, another platform. Was I lucky? I would say that you cannot rule out luck in almost anything. You know, being at the right place at the right time is more luck than science, if you ask me. But being at the right place and at the right time and being the right person, being the right fit is all hard work. There is no luck there. So, and then I'm sure you've had that saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Whilst you cannot create those opportunities by yourself, those are dependent on factors outside of your reach and your control. You have absolute control over your preparedness and the steps you take to being prepared. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I went back to school to procure for myself a master's in business administration. And I've told people who are close to me the story. The story will be sweeter in a few more years, but I will share it in any case. At that time, I had some money. And I needed a new car. I needed to replace my car, not necessarily a new car. You know, most of the time, what we need is different from what we want. And I wanted a Mercedes-Benz C180 or C200 AMG with all the bells and the whistles. Don't forget I told you guys about accountability partners. And my wife is one of my strongest accountability partners. I mean, she's the one that sees me the most. And then I told her, and we started searching for the car together, you know, looking for a good deal and all that, blah, 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 blah. And then one day, I can't remember if she was the one that it came to or me, but this car is going to be an old model in a few years. What are you going to do now that will make sure of that we can always own a newer model of this car into the future? And the true answer is I needed to invest in myself. I needed to continue because I have a trajectory of investing in myself. I needed to continue to invest in myself. I needed to go to the market and buy myself an advantage. So I jettisoned the idea of buying that brand new car. and I thought I'll spend that money on getting an advanced degree that is relevant in the market I play in, that also would announce me to the category of people that I want to start talking to and interacting with. And all of this also informed the choice of the university. There are universities in South Africa that offers MBAs that cost 10% of what I paid for the MBA. That's one. Two, the actual curriculum of a master's in business administration is out there. It's in the public. It's nothing special or new. It's out there. It's in the public domain. You can, if you want, I can stitch it together for you. And then you take this course with Coursera, you take this course with Skillup Africa, you take that course with Olu Incorporated and all that, and you would have had as much knowledge as you would have if you had gone to a big or a name brand business school. So the MBA is more than that. It is endorsement. It's rigorous to get into an MBA program anywhere, even the cheap schools. They put you through your paces. So it's rigorous. So that you could get in is even improves your own confidence. It grows your confidence in yourself. It did for me. Now, I was in class with people who are CEOs of businesses that I've read about in the papers, or I have considered buying stocks in when I look at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and all of that. I was in class with CEOs of such companies. I was in class with chief marketing officers of such companies and all that. And that afforded me to further expand my network. So the number of people, the volume of people I can reach out to professionally grew. And I also participated in the classes. I made sure that I sold myself well. I don't just talk to sound intelligent, but I made contributions that are material to what is being said. I spent time reviewing the course materials ahead of class, and I did as much, I provided as much contributions in class as I could. And whilst I'm not friends with everybody in my class, I am friends with a lot of people that I probably wouldn't have met if I hadn't gone through that program. And that's one. Two, the university I've gone to has got campuses in Africa and other parts of the world. It's affiliated to the University of Reading. And then we have this volume of alumni that you can reach out to and ask questions or ask for help. Not help like they do on social media now, that people tell you that they haven't eaten since 2 days ago and none of that. Not that kind of help. But help like, look, I've been trying to, this is my skill set. This is what I've done up to this point. I see you're working with SmithKline Beecham, and I read in the papers, or I read somewhere that you guys are considering adopting artificial intelligence and all that. I've done some work in that area. Is there somebody in the business you can introduce me to for us to start discussions? It might end up leading to a job or not, and all of that. You know, and at some level in life, that's how I actually get jobs. It's no longer applying for jobs on LinkedIn and all that. So I've told you all of this story to say, whilst I have been at the right places many times, and at the right time, which is opportunity, I have also benefited from investing in myself. To shore up the story of investing in myself, when I was in the university, I wasn't the best dressed student in my class by any measure, you know. But here's the shocker. I have had a computer in my university dorm room right from my first year in the university. And the story behind that is, I'm not teaching you to do crime, but the story behind it is, and allow me to share this. The story behind this is that when I got into university, the university levied, I can't forget, 20,000 Naira developmental levy on all students. And the student union started to riot and cause troubles and all of that. And the university refunded that 20K to all students who have paid and told those who haven't paid not to pay it. My parents were not rich. So if I had given them back that 20K, they would be very happy. Look, at the time, my school fees was 10,000 Naira, you know. And I'll tell you later why I remember my school fees, how much my school fees cost. So I decided, I've always wanted a computer before I got into the university, but I couldn't afford. My dad too tried, you know, but we couldn't get one. So I thought to myself, this is blessing. This is blessing. So I started looking for what computer my money can buy. I remember that trip to Jebubo to go and buy that computer and all that. It was a pre-Pentium and all that. Eventually, I traded it. I sold it to a classmate, added some more money to it, and bought another computer a few years down the line. But I have, and at that time, some of my classmates, it's normal for students to not return that kind of money to their parents. The same way it is normal for students to charge their parents and all family members for their final year dissertation. Whilst I didn't do that, that's a different story. I didn't spend that money on buying TVs and VCRs, which was what most of my classmates did. Not only did the computer afford me the opportunity to do the same things that you're going to do on your color TV and VCR, it also helped me start to get involved in the career path I've outlined for myself, which is to write computer programs and all that. I suck at writing computer programs. I'm not the best computer programmer in the world. I still ask Temitayo, I still asked him a few days ago if he can find me a plug to help me do something on my website, which is normal. I don't have to do it myself. I'm at that level now that I don't have to do everything myself. I just need to know who can help me do it. And if it's good, if there are monetary or other commitments I need to make, I'm willing to make that. I'm that comfortable. I'm not rich, but I'm that comfortable where I can pay for services and all of that. So I don't need to do it myself. But at the time when I couldn't, when I had to do it myself, I would figure out what I need to do it. And I will burn the midnight oil doing it. So don't forget, I didn't have a color TV and a VCR, which was a normal thing for students in those days. I had a computer. Come second year, we were learning Fortran, and we had limited laboratory resources, computer lab resources to do our work. I took my classmates home to my house, those that I can take home, and they had a field day learning on my computer. So that also raised my status amongst my classmates. So I became the de facto or the default person they come to consult when they want to buy computers and all that. And I made a killing from that. I would make trips from Agowe to Lagos to come and buy a laptop because I know a lot about laptops, which I learned accidentally because I owned my own computer. That was some of the things that happened by the wayside. And I buy a laptop for 100,000 or 80,000 naira in Lagos. I had my premium, I studied for 100,000 in school and all that. So when you hear my story and I say I've been an entrepreneur since I was in university, that was part of it. It gave me access to my lecturers too, not for the purposes of changing my grades and all that. I don't know what you've heard about state universities. The guys in Alabama University were that corrupt, they were firm and all of that. So there was even no room for that. And don't forget that at that time, I was extremely religious. So if I write an exam and I feel that it's terrible, that I feel it's terrible, all I do is to go and fast and pray. I've since learned that doesn't change much, but this is not to convince you about those kind of things. And that was the story throughout, guys. I always find myself preparing. I was telling you about the fact that I went to a state university, about the fact that I already knew that despite the fact that my department in that university had the chops, had all of the credentials, employers will look at us as a whole and decide that, okay, we are not hiring anybody that has lesser than a 2-1 from a federal university or a first class from a state university. So I started asking myself, what are the other options? All along, I've been very ethical, and I have a very strong moral compass. And I've always looked at society as unbalanced. I see businesses don't care for much but their profits. I see government as either not capable to solve all of society's problem or not willing to solve all of society's problems. And I see non-profits as the bridge between whatever is left that the government can do and whatever private institutions offer. So I got interested in the work of non-profits. I got involved in the Millennium Campaign, in the stand-up campaign for the Millennium Development Goals, which have now been replaced by the SDGs. I got involved. I started to learn my skills. So whilst I was trying to look for somebody to build my website for the book, and I couldn't find, I started learning web design on my own. I started lending that skill to movements that I believed in. And when I left university, some of those movements hired me as a freelancer. I come in one day a week, and I help them solve problems they have, and I move on. And that way I never needed to look for work. My book was also selling. I was fortunate that the university felt the book was valuable and was selling. I told you I'll tell you how I still remember my school fees till date. The university wrote me a check of 50,000 naira, and I was telling everybody that, look, I went to university on a scholarship because I paid 10,000 naira every year until my third year, and then in the fourth year I paid 13,000. So I spent 43,000 in tuition, and the university gave me a check of 50,000. So I went to school on scholarship. That's the joke between myself and my friends. And the book was selling. I mean, we sold 3,000 copies of that book because the university adopted it. We had 5,000 copies in print. We gave out about the first 500 copies ever printed. About 1,000 copies got lost, and I'm sure that 500 copies is lying somewhere in my father's house somewhere. But yeah, so I didn't have to look for a job. I didn't have to look for a job desperately. I was looking for a job, but I didn't have to look for a job desperately. And the fact that I had these consultancies or freelance gigs with non-profits around also helped me build my skills further, and also allowed me the peace of mind to choose where I want to work and what I want to do and all of that. During NYSC, I had 3 jobs. I had the job that NYSC assigned me to, and then I served in Minna, the Federal University of Technology in Minna. I started to adopt technology, so they are on this mass computer appreciation for their faculties, their staff, and somehow somebody picked up that I was good with this. Oh, it was still in the days where you don't have internet at home. So when I show up at the cyber cafe, I showed up with my own computer and all of those kind of things. And somebody asked me for help. I was struggling with something, and I assisted her, an elderly lady, and then she gave me a card. And I gave her my phone number and all of that to exchange details, just in case she has issues again and all that. And she called me one day and said her boss needs somebody to teach him computers and all of that. And I went to see her boss. The boss turned out to be a professor at the University of Minna. I've forgotten his name now, but I'm sure if I dig in my emails, I'll find it. And the guy felt so impressed with my teaching skills. He asked me what I was doing in my primary assignment. I told him I was assigned to teach mathematics, but given my love for physics, don't forget I read physics. Given my love for physics, I also assist the physics teachers and all that. And he said, look, he has 2 kids that are struggling with maths and physics. Can I help them? Of course. By himself, he offered to pay. So he pays me for his own computer trainings. He pays me for teaching his kids. Those were 2 jobs. Then, I don't know how I met these other guys. I think it was the cyber cafe as well. Because I was always there. You know, school knocks off at 2. I stay back an hour or 2 to finish up to finish grading scripts, preparing the next day's notes. I wasn't married. I was a single Pringle. I didn't have a social life. I'm not advocating for not having a social life. At the time, I didn't drink. I'm not going to say my view on drinking up till now, but yeah, at the time I didn't drink and all of those kind of things. So usually I find that by 3-4 o'clock, I've been to my flat. I changed into more comfortable clothes. I head out for the cyber cafe, and I'm probably there till they close at 10 o'clock and all of those kind of things. And then the next day, the cycle repeats. So I met these other guys there who are working for NTA Minna, and they also needed training and help and guidance. And I offered to help and all of those kind of things. In those days, I don't bill people that I'm working for. I let them tell me how much they're going to pay. It's a two-edged sword. If you fall into the trap of cheapskates, they offer to pay nothing or very little. And then on the other side are people that don't know how much it should cost, and they don't want to insult you. They offer you something that is nice. I wouldn't tell them it's too much. I would accept it. So I was a big boy during NYSC. There were things that I should have done that I didn't do at that time. But you will see that all of the skills I applied to make my NYSC a decent time for myself, I really enjoyed. No matter what people say about the NYSC, I had a good time at NYSC. Guys, I would fly back from Minna. I would drive to Abuja and fly to Lagos from Minna. That was how comfortable I was. So irrespective of the stories people say about NYSC at that time, I had a different story. Why is my story different? My story was different because I was deliberate. I all along built skills that I believed would serve me well in the future. At the time I was building those skills, it was a struggle. Don't forget I told you how many times, I didn't tell you how many times, but how I told you how, Zacchaeus, your mic is on and you can hear your background noise. So how many nights I spent in the cyber cafe? You know, it wasn't comfortable. The cyber cafe is never comfortable. You know, mosquitoes everywhere and all of those kind of things. And then NEPA will take light and the cyber cafe will take 30 minutes to put on the generator and all of those kind of things. But it's paid off and it's still paying off now because those were the foundational days. So it is super important that you build those skills. And look, until you become like a senior manager in a business, you don't rest. Even at that stage, you still don't rest, but the dynamics are slightly different. So when I was doing my MBA, I did my MBA in the world-class business school. It was enjoyment, you know. Yes, of course, there were deadlines that we have to meet. But the other thing is that with the deadlines, if you think you're not going to meet the deadlines, you fill a form and explain to them that, look, I can't meet this deadline for the following reasons and all of those kind of things, blah, 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 blah. At that time, too, if I needed to meet a deadline at all costs, I'd tell my employers, guys, I need 2 days off work for study. And guess what? Nobody's going to ask me, no, you can't, because the organization has already provided a bouquet of study leaves for me. I just must take it when I need it. I can't take it and go on holidays. It has to be for the purpose for which it has been created. But when I was building these skills, when I was preparing to get lucky, I didn't have all of these nice things. I didn't have all of these things. I didn't have clothes. In fact, when I was in university, my theory about clothes is that you wear it until you can't wear it again. And how do you know you can't wear it again? It is torn in multiple places. You patch it up in multiple places, and it can't be patched anymore. Don't forget that whilst I was living like that, I had a computer on my desk in my bedroom on campus. So maybe I should pose a challenge to you today. Well, maybe first congratulate you that you're here, because I understand, I know how expensive this class could be. Timothy and I have had long discussions on ways to further reduce it, but at the same time, it needs to cover the cost of at least running the business. So I understand how expensive this is. So that you are here, either on scholarship or you are paying for yourself, is already a lot of sacrifice. But going forward, you need to keep making such sacrifices. You know, when it comes to, let me give you an example of a place where it's going to be tough. A firm offers you a job that pays you ₦500,000 every month. And another job offers you a job that pays you only ₦150,000 every month. The simple rule of thumb is to go for the guys that offer you $500,000. But here's the kicker. If the job that offers you $500,000 a month is a job owned by 419, or that has no credibility, you are putting yourself into trouble if you accept that job, because every other future employers would see that company in your CV and say, no, but these guys, they're just doing GPT. So we don't think you have any skills or credibility to come and work with us. We don't trust you. We don't want to ever be in that circumstances. Another is that the job that is offering you $500,000, the job that is offering you 150,000, irrespective of how much the job is offering you, which one, if you're at early stage, which one offers you the most opportunity to learn? That's a key question. And you might not know that from outside. That's why before you apply for jobs, I know today everybody just applies for whatever jobs they find on LinkedIn or they find on other job sites. I did that too in the very early days, but I don't do that anymore. And I didn't do that for very long. I would research the business and see if their values align with mine. That's one. Two, I would research the business and see if there are opportunities for me to grow in that business. You know, if I can go from being a developer, if there's room for me to go from a developer to a senior developer, or if there's room for me to convert from being a developer to being a project manager, or if there's a room for me to go from a project delivery function to a commercial function, a wholly commercial function. It is super important. Be that as it may, sometimes you might still not have all of the answers before you get it. But if you have at least checked before you get it, you know for a fact that you took the right decisions. Even if at the end of the day, it looks like it was a wonky decision and all that, you know that you didn't take a lazy decision. You took your time to look at the potential employers and you took the decision. And there are times when it's clear cut that the ₦500,000 a month job, yes, it gives you status. You can this, you can quickly buy a car, by the time you save, maybe you're still living at home and all that, and you are able to save 400K every month. By the time you save that for, say, 24 months, you have 4.8 million. You can buy a car that you push to start in the morning. And you become the king of your of boys amongst your friends, or the king of girls, the queen of girls amongst your friends and all that. Whilst it provides you all of that, does it provide you sustainability? Are you learning anything there? Is that job giving you opportunities to build on the skills you have brought in? Those are super important. And I would always advocate that you go for in the early stage of your career, you go for the jobs or the opportunities that allows you to learn more than those that don't offer you anything but money. Because you have that money now, you're collecting that money now, you are spending that money now, but it's not sustainable, because that business will one day get tired of you, or you get tired of them, or it folds up, or something happens. Relationships are never, except for the ones we have with religious figures, relationships are never for forever, and except for marriage, right? I'm married now, and my wife might be hearing us, so I need to also put that in. But employer-employee relationships don't last forever. And it's important that you don't put yourself at a disadvantage when it comes time to move on. Take that with you. What it is now might be different from what it will be when you are mid-career in 10 years or in 15 years' time. It might be different. But you make sure that every employee-employer relationship you get into is not one that puts you at a disadvantage when it's time for you to move on. So look, if I have harped on anything seriously or sincerely this afternoon, it is that you need to invest in yourself. And maybe I should also put in a word of caution. Investing in yourself doesn't necessarily mean just buying books or buying courses and all of that. It means attending them and getting something out of it. I have a practice. It's part of my reflective practice. I sit down and ask myself, what have I gotten out of this scenario, this situation, or this exercise, or this endeavor? I ask myself that. And usually, before such endeavors, I ask myself, what am I likely to get out of this endeavor? That's what helps me choose between multiple endeavors. That's what helps me choose between an initiative I would back versus an initiative I would walk away from. So you need to have that practice as well. You need to reflect. You need to reflect. You need to plan, and then you need to hold yourself accountable. And sometimes the work of holding yourself accountable might not be one you can do well by yourself. You need to have trusted allies, not necessarily the same people you play video games with and all that, because you are all like grains of rice in a bag of rice. You are all facing the same direction. You might need to step outside of your comfort zone and find people who are out there. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't know them. I don't know. You can establish a relationship with them who are out there, who are doing the things you'd like to do, or whose judgments on issues that are important to you trust, and you ask them to hold you accountable. Majority of them don't have the time to waste. So they'll let you know that you have to put in the work and you have to show up when it comes time for us to have discussions. I've got the retinue of people like that in my life that I hold accountable. But I chalk out those that are not serious, because look, the 30 minutes I'm spending with you is 30 minutes I could spend doing other important things. So be respectful of my time and show up on time and do what you need to do and all of that. So you need to, and all through my career, I have sought out people like that on my own. Some people will tell me they don't have time or they're not interested in those things. Some people don't even understand what I'm asking, but over time, you'll find those that would agree to mentor you, to hold your hands, to explain things to you and all that. And then you'll find those who would hold you accountable. Sometimes those who would hold you accountable are family members. Sometimes they're your peers. I've got a bosom friend here that I bounce off all of the ideas, all of the initiatives I'm getting involved in with. And he never tells me, do it, don't do it. He always provides me with a second pair of eyes to look at the same things. And then that broadens, it enriches the bed of my considerations. And then I would eventually still take my decision and own it. But because I have somebody whose judgment on this kind of matters I trust, I've taken it to him and it's expanded. Sometimes the expansion is just one new narrow lane that he introduces that I've not considered before. And then I see that and I take it, and it's what it is. So yes, luck has a place. or maybe 10%, but you have no power over when you are going to be lucky. What you have power over is how prepared you are. There are opportunities that have arisen in my career that I was able to fit into, feeling, because yes, I've had years of practicing silently in the corner of my room or of my house. So if anybody is laying hands on you and collecting money from you, this is the time you stop taking their calls. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. You know, let's be honest with ourselves. The majority of the work lies in your hands and in your head. How much of what is going on are you taking in? Is the news just plain news to you, or are you able to sift through the news and look for information? Do you have a general idea of what you want to do with your life and with your career, and or the kind of career you want to build? Are you consistently finding yourself in the circle of people with similar ambitions so that you guys can help each other up? If not, stop wasting your money on the prophet or on the babalao. Those people are just getting richer on your money. That's what it is. That's what it is. So you cannot pray yourself into getting lucky. You can't, especially if you are not prepared. You know, I mean, okay, let's even say that you put yourself into getting lucky, or your uncle knows the CEO of Guarantee Trust Bank, and they give you their card and say, okay, show up there on Monday and start a job. But you can't do anything. You cannot do anything. You cannot offer any value. You cannot solve any problem. You cannot even do data entry. Your uncle's friend might keep you in that job because he doesn't want to offend his friend for a while. What if your uncle's friend then resigns from his own job, or he leaves the country to go and do something else? The people around that you are causing problem for, they will kick you out. They will put you on performance improvement, which is a basket where they put everybody that they want to send out of the door. Only a few people come out of that basket and go back to the job they were doing before. But if you are prepared, even if you are struggling on the job, even if you only have 80% of the skills or 50% of the skills that is required to work in that job, and you are aware, you are not foolish about it, you're not be silly about it. You are aware that yes, there's a skill gap here, and you're working hard towards bridging it. You are likely to be more of a success than somebody who just wakes up and is leveraging connection and all of that here and there. And then it will come to a point, like at my level, it will come to a point like I am now, where you reach out to people in your network. But because they know that you are all talk and no action, they're okay, yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, I'll call you. Don't call me, I will call you. But I'm never going to call you. I'm never going to call you. But the flip side is also possible, where people say, hey, dude, you see what you're doing for social business. Why don't you come and do it with us? We've seen it, we've seen the results. We're quite impressed with it. Come and do it with us. I've seen it happen to people. It has happened to me a few times too, you know. And then we'll have a conversation. We agree terms. I'm going to have to create my own team. I'm not going to come in. I need to bring one or two people whom I've invested a lot in, and I feel they can make contributions here and all of that. We have the discussions. If we agree, then I go and tell my guys, we're living here, we're moving there. You see, but you see, don't forget that my calling card, what sold me was the fact that the person who is inviting me has seen my work ethic, has seen what I can do. You know, they probably would have also seen my challenges, my struggles. Like that guy is not comfortable with idiots. He would scream his head off and all of that. But they are willing to live with that. But compare that to somebody who is just all talk. If you look at the CV is beautiful, like fantastic. But people who are working with him are asking, when did you do all of that? If only he spent as much time that he spends updating his CV, doing the actual work, maybe that CV will be right. You know, you don't want to be that person that is described as such. So it is a continuous battle of preparation, a continuous battle of sensing and then preparing. You know, again, I give the example of artificial intelligence. You know, when everybody was talking about it, I had nothing to say because A, I knew that AI wasn't new. AI has been with us since forever. There's nothing new in AI. B, there will be massive changes that will be occasioned by technology, but its effects on us as a civilization organization, as a society, as a people, is going to be gradual. And C, there will be opportunities for people who have subscribed to lifelong learning and who are still young enough to acquire new skills and continue to fit in. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody here, but that is what I know. And I know that not because some pastor somewhere told me or some Babalawo told me. It's from my study of human history. I've studied all the prior technological innovations and all of that, and the revolutions that they kickstarted and all that. And I know that it is always going to take time, and there will always be room for adapting. And if anything, I think my adapting game is top notch, you know, and it's easy for anybody to adapt. You need to know what that next thing requires. I need to know how much of it you have in you and how much of it you don't have. And you start looking for ways to get that, to fill in the difference, to fill in the gap. And like I said, it is easier to do that today than it was 17 years ago when I left the university. You know, there are things that you can learn today by reading a set of blog posts on respectable websites that in my days, you would have had to go and buy a textbook. And then you have to wait 3 months for that textbook to come. So that's pretty much it. Temitai, I don't know if I've done justice to the question or not. Or if you want to, if I've digressed too much and you want to bring me back on track.
As a matter of fact, the other questions that I have been also answered, you know, in the way that you went with the discussion. And I just like the way the conversation went on naturally. So guys, I think we'll leave room for maybe 1 or 2 questions if you have people who have questions. But again, you have had it again. I think every young person will always get to that point where you will, you know, you might be confused. You might feel like, are you making the right decision? Are you going the right way? Should you take, you know, there's always that time where you are unsure about what else to do. But I will say to you, and Mr. Asuni, I've also said it over and over, if you are going in the trajectory of developing yourself, skilling yourself up, it is never a loss. It is never a wrong move. It is never a wrong thing to do. So as we close, while we'll see if we have 1 or 2 comments or questions from others, to people who are unsure, who are, you know, you mentioned something about, oh, you have a job now. A lot of people tell me that, even on this call, that, you know, I need to survive. I need money to survive. And that's why I'm trapped with this job I'm doing currently. And you will look back, 5 years have gone. You look back, 7 years have gone. You look back, 10 years have gone. You're still doing that job, still getting that petty money and no growth. You know, at some point in life, you just have to make that decision and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm moving on from this point. I also to that point in my life when I also had to make a decision and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I need to move on in the direction I want to go. For some of you on this call, this is the time for you to do that. It would be difficult. It won't be easy, but you need to, you know, make that move and just leapfrog processes in your life generally. So I would like you to close on that note, you know, of what I just said now. Then, okay, I think we have a question here. The question says, how do you dare to have a detour in transitioning? I'm in my late 30s and transitioning to tech. I have clear-cut goals, but at times I just get tired, but must go on. I know how you feel. And I was going to also ask about people who think time has gone, and you know, so maybe you should just respond to that.
Look, there's a study I read a few months ago, maybe about a year ago or thereabouts, and they looked at entrepreneurs. They took, I mean, it was done in the US, so maybe the story will be different in Africa. But they looked at entrepreneurs and they realized that most of the most successful enterprises, startups in the US, were founded by people in their 40s or older. That does not mean that there are no 17-year-old founders who have made money and all that, but they realize that people, as much as we like to think that time, and I've been in that basket before many times, I won't lie to you. And I've been, so you are in your late 30s. I started to get worried about this when I was in my late 20s. I remember as a 29-year-old, I would ask myself if I've achieved anything in my life and all that. There was a time in my life I won't celebrate birthday parties because I thought to myself, what am I really celebrating? What have I achieved? But you see, it's important for you to live life. It's important for you to not look at things from that point of view alone. They say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Now, for those of us who missed the opportunity of planting a tree 20 years ago, the next best time for us to plant a tree is now. So you feel you are stuck and all of that. I get it. I've felt that way many times. Sometimes I think it's actually a good thing to feel. Otherwise, you might just get stuck without knowing it. To transition, you don't make any sudden moves. You are likely to regret it. What you do rather is to have 2 lanes. Reserve and dedicate 1 lane to your current trajectory, to your current job, to your current skills and all that. And then you create a new lane that you fill with the things that you want to do next. The things you want to do next. So you probably, let's say for argument's sake, you're working in HR or you are working in marketing today, and you're thinking of becoming a business analyst or a product manager. You create a second lane for that. After work or before work, depending on what works best for you, you're reading, you're studying, you are taking tests, you're talking to people who are in that industry, you are building, you identifying the skills you need to build, you are drawing up plans to build those skills, and you are doing the work. You know, that might be the reason why you are here at Skillup Africa, for example. You take the things you are doing here seriously and all that. And when you get to the point where you feel that you are ready to get a job or to start a business or to do something with the skills you have acquired, you also do it in a way that doesn't put your well-being at risk. So you don't want to take chances with your well-being or with the well-being of those who depend on you. But again, you also don't want to stay at that intersection for too long. So you need to work as hard at it as you can. And whenever the stars align in your favor, you make the transition. And another thing is that we sometimes, because we become disillusioned with where we are, we sometimes do not give much credit to the experience we have had. So I feel comfortable that my experience as a developer did make me a great project manager. My experience as a project manager contributed to the kind of business analyst and product manager that I am today. So all of those experiences, even experience in diverse fields, you know, I sit down in a meeting, even now, and people are confused by certain things. And that is legitimate. It's not like they are foolish. But I have an advantage that from the fact that I have studied physics, and physics and maths are some of the most methodical disciplines you can get trained in. And I was also in love with philosophy, and I took my love of philosophy beyond what we were taught in class. So all of those things sometimes would contribute to my understanding of a problem 20 years after I first learned those things. Imagine if I was one of those people who are singing Fortran is an old programming language, and I didn't pay attention when we were being taught Fortran. Perhaps I probably wouldn't have been able to make that transition into becoming a web designer or developer, which opened doors to becoming a proper developer, writing Python, MySQL, and PHP, and then which also further opened the door to doing other things. So let's not disregard our current experiences. I know somebody, I don't have permission to share the story, but I'll share part of it that they've shared openly. Their first job in telecoms is at the call center. Today, they are a very senior executive in a big telecommunication company. And they will also always remind people who ask them that the skills they acquired whilst in their call center job, caring for the customer, truly understanding the customer's problem, caring enough for them to helping them find the solution, has helped them throughout their professional career. And you find that anybody who is reflective enough as this person would reach the same conclusion. So the fact that today you are a generator operator doesn't mean that tomorrow you cannot be a car manufacturer. I'm not speaking to you like motivational speakers will say and all that. All I'm saying is those experiences, they add up. I'm not saying that you should allow them add up progressively, arithmetically. You might need to do something like going back to school or whatever else you can do to make the growth geometric. You don't want to be stuck in something that grows by 1 every year. You want something that multiplies by 10 every year. That's what you really want. So, but the experiences you have now are not throwaway experiences. You might not like them anymore because there was a time they worked well for you, but now, yeah, look, I've been on the same salary for the last 10 years. I'm talking to the same clowns at work and all of those kind of things, which is usually the story of everybody's decision with their current jobs. But don't let that get in the way of what you do next. Like, carefully plan the next step, what you want to do, and work hard at it. So pursue that multi-lane approach. Continue doing what you're doing. Don't let it take too much of your time, and then start dedicating time and resources to the things you want to do next. And be honest with yourself, hold yourself accountable. If you need to put in 10 hours a week for you to get any outcome, don't put in 2 hours a week. You are fooling yourself if you do that. There's no miracle anywhere. I trust you. The miracles happen in the Bible, and that's where they are. There's really no miracle here anymore. So rather than waste time hoping and praying for a miracle, put in the work. If you need to put in 10 hours, if you put in 11 or 12, you are even shortening the curve for yourself. You are making the curve shorter for yourself, so that when the opportunity arises, sometimes opportunities would arise and would look like a news item or a gossip item to somebody, but to another person who is prepared, who has developed the eye to spot what they are looking for, would see it and say, yeah, that's for me. And then they reach out for it, and that's it. So yeah, don't get disillusioned. Don't throw away your experience. They matter. They will come in handy in future. But whilst you are still on that job, start to build the skills you require for the next phase of your life. It can be simpler than that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I believe the person that asked that question had, have it resolved now, and others that did not ask that are listening. Thank you very much for this session. It's been a very, very educative one, like always. Every time we invite you, it's always a very great experience to hear and learn from you. And I want to really thank you for your commitment to the Skillup Africa, consistently showing up anytime we need you. We really want to say thank you for that, because we know that, it's not easy. I know how busy your weeks can be, and weekends, now make time to come. And I believe that everybody on this call really appreciated your coming and what you've shared with us so far. Thank you very much, sir. Do enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Yes, thank you.
Only a pleasure. Only a pleasure. Guys, I wish you all well. Temitayo, you know that you don't need to jump through many hoops to bring me back. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, sure.
It's something I would have been doing myself too, time and other things permitted. And I feel that maybe the guys here also needs to hear this. I feel that you are doing important work. These are the things that government should actually allocate huge resources to. You're doing a good job. You're filling a huge gap in society. And I pray that you live longer and you continue to do this. And I pray that the people who are meant to be the beneficiaries of these initiatives put in the work and actually turn their life around. But yeah, I think you're doing excellent work here.
Yeah, man.
Kudos to you and your team. Well done.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, thank you for coming. Great. So guys, I want to believe that you've learned one or two things in that session. Some people are already dropping their comments in the session, in the comment section, and we would like to see more of that. Trust me, in the Skillup Africa, we have more now. We now have more than like 100 mentors who are willing and happy to share with you. Even at some point in the training, we match you one-on-one with some of them so that you can share with each other better and learn more from them. So that would be all for today. I've been trying to reach our second speaker, who is based in Canada. because of the time zone, he was sharing concern about the time zone yesterday, but I have not been able to reach him today, so probably he's not able to come in at this time. We'll definitely have him at some other time on the call, but I want to believe that today has been, you've learned one or two things today. Okay, you love a copy of the comments. Yes, you can get a copy of the comments. We can share that with you. So guys, it's been an amazing day today. Learning continues on Monday. For those that have not done the Introduction to Tech course, make sure you do that. Learning continues on Monday. Oyi and Raymond will be sharing more information on what things to do. By this time, we want you to spend the weekend to really think about what you learned in the Introduction to Tech course. And we believe that you should have a concrete decision going forward after now, right? You should have a concrete decision, an assurance, guarantee, better motivation for what it is you want to learn after this introductory course, right? So we will share a form with you where you will now specify what exactly you want to learn. Then from next week, we'll begin to share you into different groups. And by the end of next week, we'll have smaller groups, and then we'll now split into the online and the all-site thing. People coming on site will come on site, those online will continue online, and that's how we'll move on from there. Okay, I will hand over back to Oyi now. That will be all from me from now. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure we all had a very exciting moment, right? Let me make it in 2 words. Now, in 2 words, how was the session? Explosive, beautiful, purposeful, amazing. I'm sure we all had an exciting session. I'm really glad we did. Informative and inspiring, great, amazing. Thank you so much for joining, and also we want to thank Mr. Olu. I'm not sure if he's still on the call, but still thank him for joining and sharing with us from his wealth of wisdom and experience. So many light bulb moments. That's beautiful, amazing. Angela says beautiful and informative. I'm glad we all had a very amazing session. That is why we are here. Yes, so that will be all for today. You can go back to keep engaging with the courses on the portal. And also, do not forget to get your assignment in. There's an assignment that has been updated on the portal. Please check it out and ensure that you do your due diligence. Because just so you know, grading has already started, and you need to remain focused and remain diligent. So thank you so much for your time. That will be all for today. Yes, Bernard, you can reach out to any of the admins. We have Raymond and myself, and also we have Damilola on the group chat. Please just reach out to any of us, and you'll be able to get it. If it's as regards the learning portal, please reach out to Raymond directly. I think that's the best access to support you can get as regards learning portal. But for every other issue, you can reach out to any of the other